There's something so charming about a motley crew, a band of outcasts learning to be better people and finding a home in each other. Whether it's the rebel helping an uptight nerd learn to live a little, or a jaded asshole finding joy with a slightly annoying cinnamon bun. Sometimes a sense of belonging can be found in the most unexpected places. Watching Dana Terrace's new animated show, The Owl House, has really driven home for me why I love the found family trope. I want to show you how this goofy, wonderful story uses friendship and family dynamics to drive character growth and encourages us to realise that we're worthy of love. Using the Owl House as an example, today we're going to look at the different ways family can be used as a narrative device. The found family trope offers camaraderie between outcasts and the suggestion that people can value you without being forced to. In the Owl House, it's clear from the start that rebellious witch Ida and tiny demon King appreciate Luce for who she is, despite her eccentric personality and the fact that she's a regular old human.
How thoughtful?
It's palindrome wood, you ding-dong.
Now you can make your own talisman.
In fact, where her odd demeanour may put others off, it makes these new friends love her more. Luce's found family is integral to her development as a character. She arrives at the Boiling Isles from the human world, making her an outsider to every citizen of this new place. Yet Ida and King make her feel welcome and offer her a place of belonging by accepting and encouraging her weird and wild personality, which was often shunned or discouraged back home. Together, they all go on adventures that only bring them closer together as a family. Ida rarely imposes parental rules on Luce while they live together. She simply cares about her enough to let her stay in a spare room and feed her. Even this act of buying food is more generous than it might seem. Because Luce is human, she can't stomach much of the food on the Boiling Isles, and Ida does what she can to provide food Luce is comfortable eating. Dang it if that isn't just so wholesome and thoughtful! The character growth in a found family dynamic is often more reciprocal than in a blood family dynamic. Parents help children to grow, which is usually viewed as a responsibility of the parent, or a typical obligation that is required from a mother or father and not necessarily reciprocated from the child to the parent, at least not until the child is an adult. In a found family, everyone grows together and learns from each other through shared experiences. I find that a blood family dynamic isn't able to capture this growth between characters quite as well. This is because when you have a family of outcasts, a group of isolated people who choose to be together, they simply love each other because they want to, not from any sense of obligation. The mutuality of these relationships encourages the characters to genuinely respect each other and support each other to become better people. This isn't to say blood relationships are all bad, just that when people are forced to live together, there's more room for conflict and power imbalances. But we'll talk a bit more about that later. Luce has a tendency to affect people with her wholesome and compassionate personality.
Every idea is a good idea. I love you guys!
This warmth helps her easily make new friends in the strange land of the Boiling Isles. She's nice to people out of no obligation and with no expectation of reward, and this unfettered kindness improves the disposition of the people around her. One of these people is Amity, the icy young witch in training. Amity learns to not be so resentful towards others, especially Luce, after realizing that she and Luce share similar ambitions to become the best witches they can be through hard work and discipline. Amity appreciates Luce's abundance of kindness and compassion, which are qualities Amity has herself but refuses to show. Amity's girl boss mother raises her to be the best without exception, even when that means discarding friends who become a liability.
Amity! You just lost us a lot of money! What's with you lately? I see. Looks like our precious Mittens has been getting distracted.
That is, until she learns from Luce that showing her emotions and letting people in is a completely normal and healthy thing to do. In the beginning, all Amity cared about was being the top student. She's mean to everyone around her so she can keep her place as the teacher's pet. I, for one, definitely resented Amity as a character to start with because of her uptightness and all-round lame vibes. She starts off as a stone-cold bully, and that's all there really is to it.
Ow! Ooh. Watch where you're...
Oh, it's you.
You cheated! Say it! Say you're not a witch!
Ugh, you.
Amity...
But As the series goes on, I was definitely surprised to find that I started to like Amity as she evolved, and a lot of her redemption arc is thanks to Luce. Towards the end of season 1, Amity actually agrees to be part of a team for a game of Grudgeby, which is like rugby but for witches and weird creatures. She's in a team with Luce, Willow and Gus. Last time she played Grudgeby, she put her teammates' safety at risk, all for the sake of winning.
I changed our game plan to the Thorn Vault. It went disastrously wrong. My teammates got hurt, all because I had an idea of how things should be. I pushed them too far.
But this time around, she actually puts her own safety at risk, showing her true character.
Amity! I think I hurt my leg, but I'll be okay.
I personally don't think Amity would have ever shown this deeply buried selflessness without Luce's influence. Luce has a knack for making friends easily on the Boiling Isles, simply by talking to them and appealing to their good nature. By season 2, Amity reaches a point where she's comfortable enough to emulate this friendliness by reaching out to Hunter, the oppressive Emperor's right-hand man. Hunter is not the most morally righteous character out there, but despite that, Amity does her best to give Hunter genuine advice even though they're on opposing sides. It does not go well, but it demonstrates significant character growth on Amity's part, and is another example of how much Luce's kindness affects the people around her. Ida is another character who changes for the better thanks to Luce's adoration and kindness. Ida learns compassion from Luce and evolves from a mentor to a maternal figure for her. When we first meet Ida, she plays the role of the lone wolf, a fugitive witch with no coven. Yet, after Luce comes into her life, she goes out of her way to help her enroll in a witch's school, even though it goes against what she previously stood for. That being, seeing magic as something you can use however you like, rather than being limited with what you can learn about it. Ida's love for Luce only becomes stronger throughout their time together. In episode 1 of season 2, we can see Ida's devotion to Luce as a member of her family by the way she only gets food that Luce can stomach.
Not a lot she can digest here, so I make sure to have her favorites around.
As mentioned previously, because Luce is human, there's not much on the Boiling Isles that she can digest. But for all that Luce has done for Ida is more than happy to sacrifice the funds to buy special food for her adopted human child, or her found family. After being around Luce and learning how to be more compassionate towards others, Ida also learns to be compassionate towards herself. Experiencing what a healthy, uplifting family should look like helps her build self-respect and understand the standards she should hold her blood relatives to. Ida has a complicated relationship with Lilith. For those of you who aren't too familiar with the Owl House or haven't watched it yet, Lilith is Ida's younger sister and the head of the Emperor's Coven. You may have noticed by now that Ida is a bit feathery. This is because Lilith cursed Ida when they were young girls, and it's not even until later in season 1 that Ida realizes that her own sister is responsible for the owl curse.
I am better than you.
Then why were you so easy to curse?
This caused the already cavernous fissure between them to break apart even further. However, at the end of season 1, when Ida is at risk of becoming an owl beast permanently, Lilith makes a genuine attempt to reconcile by sharing the curse between them.
I should have done this a long time ago. With this spell declared, let the pain be shared.
Ida sees from Lilith's actions that she's desperate to fix things between them. Ida hasn't forgiven Lilith yet, but after her sister's sacrifice, she allows her back into her life. Ida is respecting herself and setting standards for the behaviour of those around her. I think this character arc between the two sisters is a super important example of family because it shows Ida being able to set expectations for Lilith, which ultimately led to the beginnings of some form of healing between them. It's not just blood relatives that might treat you badly. Compared to Ida, Hunter's situation with his adoptive uncle, Emperor Bellows, is pretty scuffed. Their relationship is based on an imbalanced and dysfunctional power dynamic, reliant on the assumption that Hunter must respect Bellows above all else. In stark contrast to the lovable and warming family ties that make up the Owl House, Bellows abuses Hunter mentally and physically whenever he fails to surpass the Emperor's expectations of his lieutenant. This makes Hunter feel inadequate and as though he has nothing to offer, while also inflicting immense pressure on him to succeed at any cost.
So you return with nothing. Is this the thanks I get for taking you in?
Of course not. I want to help. And if you told me how wild magic did this to you, I might be able to find out. My apologies. I spoke out of turn. It won't happen again.
Perhaps Hunter will go through a similar process as Ida if he allows himself to seek support outside of his involuntary bond to Emperor Bellows. As the audience, we want the best for Hunter despite his moral ambiguity, because we've seen how Emperor Bellows treats him and the grossly unbalanced power dynamic between the two of them. I know for a fact that my only hope for Hunter from this point forward is that he'll end up becoming a part of the motley crew that is the Owl House. Family isn't limited to those who raised you. Family is anyone who means a lot to you and lends you a hand when the going gets tough. It's pretty sweet that a show like The Owl House demonstrates to its viewers the unexpected forms family can take. I think we can all relate to wanting a sense of belonging, and sometimes it's not possible to find that in the family you were born into. That's why it's such a lovely sentiment that we can build our own families through the connections we form with others. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, or at least learnt something maybe. That would be pretty sick. Don't forget to like and subscribe and maybe even share with a friend. That would be super rad if you could do that. Stay epic and I'll see you next time.